It's just after 7 o'clock. We have a quorum of CPC members here. So we're going to get ready to get started. We're just checking with SMAC to see if they're ready to record it. SMAC is ready to record, and Barry is also recording it. Oh, apparently we are live tonight. I didn't know that, not used to that. It doesn't make much of a difference. But with that, I will entertain a motion from someone on the committee to open the meeting. Okay, and do we have anyone on roll call? So we do not need to do a roll call vote. So all in favor? Aye. Okay, we'll open up the meeting. It's the June 4th regular meeting of the Community Preservation Committee. And really the first thing on our agenda is our annual public hearing. So I will entertain another motion to open the public hearing. So made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Okay. So let me start by introducing myself. My name is Michael Barrett. I'm the chair of the Community Preservation Committee. I've had the pleasure of being on this committee since about 2012, minus a couple of years there where I managed to get away from it partially. It's been a great experience for me. And, oh, Barry, can we pull up the presentation? Public hearing? No. My draft from the Google Drive. I put a PowerPoint into the Google Drive?
Oh, that one.
Yeah. I do have there are agendas on the table for anybody who wants to look at them. And I have a brief presentation. Just wanted to cover a couple of slides with background information about the committee and about the projects that we've worked on and are working on. Here it is up on the screen now. It's a smaller version of what we presented to town meeting last month as part of our annual budget process. But the first thing I'd like to call attention to is that very pretty, colorful logo, which we're very proud of. It was drawn up by a high school student at Stoughton High School a couple of years ago. We had a contest, and we wanted to get our vision out there, what's going on with the committee, and so it represents the 4 core areas that we will talk about, and has our little logo, our little reason for being, if you will, improving. What's it say? I can't read it. Improving Stoughton's quality of life. So with that, we'll go to the next slide, Barry. And the next slide just gives a list of the Community Preservation Committee members, past and present. Most importantly, at the top, you'll see the name of Barry Castle, the program manager, the program administrator. Barry is the key point of contact for the public and the key workhorse for the committee, keeping us all in line and moving and keeping the information flowing. The committee is made up of 9 members, 7 coming from various organizations across the town. And I'm not going to try to, but they're all listed up on the board. We all have 3-year terms. They rotate. A couple people, 2-3 people drop off each year and often get reappointed. 2 of us are appointed by the select board. At the bottom of the page is a list of all of the former members, and I believe it's correct, but I wasn't here for the entire time, and I've asked other people, and we put together a list, so all the past and present members of the committee. We meet once a month, typically the first Wednesday of the month, hence today. And we go through an agenda, which you can see, and very similar to what we got tonight, with the one exception that we do have the public hearing, which the legislation requires us to have once a year to help ensure that we're in touch with the public and that this is not just something being run behind closed doors. I'm going to talk about some of the money and where it's coming from and how it's being used, but it's the town's money. So this is an opportunity for residents of the town and people interested in the potential to use CPC funds to, as we said, improve the quality of life here in Stoughton. So Barry, if we can go to the next slide.
Yeah, I'm just going to put everything.
That's okay. Oh. Okay, the next slide is the Town of Stoughton CPA history. And this just shows us that the town adopted the CPA on April 8th, 2008. It was a very close vote, but we got a 51% favorable. It had to run through a whole series of steps, including an election, general election by the town. It was effective in the fiscal year 2009, and as you can see that the total CPA revenue from 2009 to the end of the last fiscal year, which is 2024, is $19.4 million. Of that, $10.9 million has come in the form of the local surcharge that is assessed on everybody's property taxes in town. So, as I said, it's the town's money. This is coming mostly from the residents and businesses in town. We do have the ability to borrow money, and you can see that we have, over the history, we borrowed $4.3 million, predominantly in the early years before we built up our own fund of money that we could then use to fund the projects. But we had borrowed a total of $4.3 million, and we'll see later that we've paid back $1.9 million of the principal there. State match, which is one of the nice things about the CPA, it's the incentive that the state gave to all the communities. It's generally been about 30%, I think, Barry? High 20s, 30%. It's gone down the last couple of years as more communities across the state have taken advantage, but that's $2.9 million through a year ago. We've got a couple $100,000 more since then, and we'll get a couple $100,000 more for the current fiscal year as well. So that's just, I like to think it's free money. It's money that we can invest in our community that we would not have if we had not adopted the CPA. Other is predominantly earnings on investment. As the kitty grew over the years, we have cash on the balance sheet of the town, and that money gets invested in an appropriate manner, and we've some good interest on it, $1.2 million. So we skip to the next slide. What we've done with that money. Total expenditures from 2009 to 2024 in millions, $10.9 million. $3.7 million of it on recreation. And as I said, the four core categories, we have recreation, open space, historic preservation, and community housing. So we've been able to spend a wide variety of things we've been able to do. You're going to hear about a couple of them tonight. Historic resources, we've invested $2.7 million. As I said, we've paid back $1.9 million of the bonds that we took out. Open space, another $1.3 million, which is largely, that's the Glen Echo property. And if you haven't been there, then you all should get down to it, because it's just a beautiful property, and we've done a couple other projects there as well. Interest on the borrowings, we've paid $700,000. Community housing at $400,000 has been the slowest moving category, but not reflected here are a couple projects that we approved 2 years ago. The Hebrew Senior Life Senior Affordable Housing Project over on Canton Street, which is $1.3 million. That money should get spent in fiscal year 2026, I believe. And we have another one that we'll hear about tonight, I think. Do we have them on the phone? Okay. The Father Bill's Mainspring, the conversion of the motel down on Route 138, which was for $250,000. We're a small piece of the project, but it helped them get going, and we're looking forward to that as well. Administrative and other, over the course of 16 years, we've spent just under $200,000. The legislation allows us to set aside 5% of our annual revenues to cover things like having a program administrator, running ads for the different types of meetings, and sundry other types of things that come up. But we don't typically spend a lot of money there. And then the last, which is a little bit of an eye chart, but kind of transitions us over to the rest of the night, is here's a list of the CPA projects in progress during the current year. And rather than address individually now, because they will come up, just to highlight, there's roughly 25, 27 projects that have been in some form of planning, development, spending of money during the past year. Those projects we spent $854,000 on. There is another $4.5 million of money that's been approved for these projects to complete the projects that hasn't yet been spent. But this is the type of chart that we review on a fairly regular basis as part of our monthly meetings to monitor progress, listen to people. The agenda for the night, which isn't on the slide, Barry, that's it for the slides. We've got a couple of the project updates. I guess there's 4 or 5 of them here that we're going to address. They would normally come up during our meeting. We're going to have the folks give it to the public and kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We're going to have some discussion from some of the members of the committee and some guest speakers talk about the needs in each of those categories and how the CPA has been able to, and more importantly, will be able to help them going forward. And then we're going to open it up for the public to ask questions, talk about some things they would like. I know we've got a couple people here that we have talked to, met them at one of the projects. We were out, Barry and I were at the Elm Street baseball fields last month for the opening of the youth baseball season, and we had invested some money there. They did a great job. New fencing, fixed up the fields. It really looked beautiful, and they got some nice signs up there showing, using our logo and talking about the CPC. It was a great event. So with that, Barry, we'll kind of let you drive the update.
Okay.
So do we have, I think,
We do have,
Father Bill's online?
there's John. Just before John starts, I'd just like to reiterate what Michael said. We have a program in place where we review projects in progress. So things don't slip through the cracks. When something is approved, we want to make sure that it proceeds to completion in a timely manner. And because of that, or as part of that, we have people come back regularly. I mean, it differs by project how often they come back to us, but usually at least every 6 months, if not more often. And so we have 5 projects that we are reviewing tonight that are, again, part of this regular process of reviewing projects and getting an update what the status is of the project. And I have to say, just as an overview, since winter, thank you, my fault, sorry. Since winter has ended, we've had a lot of construction activity on a number of different projects, one of which is the very first project, which is coming up, Stoughton Motel. And I'd like to introduce John Lanham from Father Bill's Mainspring.
Thank you, Barry. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to you tonight, give you an update on our project. We're incredibly appreciative of the support.
A little louder if you could.
Sorry, is that better?
A little, you're fading a little bit away from the mic, so if you can kind of direct it.
Sorry, I'm sitting close here.
That's better.
Okay. So as Barry and Michael were saying, we were the recipients of $250,000 towards our Stoughton Motel project. This is the renovation of the property at 1919 Washington Street, which will, when it's completed, become 24 units of efficiency housing for individuals to live there between the 2 properties that are on the site. We are excited to report to you all that construction started back in February. We are working with New Vision Enterprises as our general contractor, who has been doing a great job so far. They are moving quick, and anytime there's a renovation, there's always a little, question of what are you going to find when you start, pulling up, or doing the demolition and seeing what's behind the walls. But, happy to report that so far there has not been any major changes or concerns that have come up with the project that we didn't kind of initially anticipate with the timeline. So at this point, all of the demolition has been complete. The interior framing of the project and the dormers and the back single family home in the back have been complete, and they are currently working on rough plumbing, mechanical, and electrical work. We will be doing, if you've been by the site recently, you may have seen, we are doing all new siding on the property. So you'll see the blue skin, kind of underlayment is up right now. The siding should be going up very soon, and new windows also just went in. So we're really trying to take advantage of some of this nice weather that we have right now to get that exterior work done. And then when it's raining, we're, focusing heavily on the interior of the building. Part of the other project right now is a lot of site work. So the property had been using septic in the back of the property. We also are going to be adding additional parking to the back of the building as well to make sure there's enough spots for everyone in the property. So there is quite a bit of work going on in the back with heavy equipment right now. Thankfully, that is all going very well, and looking forward to getting the building on the town sewer. In terms of finances for the project, we are within budget, which is always good to say. We have our contingency fund at about $380,000 for the project, and every change order that's come so far has been within that. If there is any other change orders that would take us above our contingency or go over budget, Father Bill's and Mainspring would do private fundraising to cover those additional costs, so there wouldn't be a request to come back to the town for additional funds. We have not expensed the $250,000 for CPC funds at this time. We were planning on, waiting until further along in the project to do that a little bit later after we were spending down some of the other state funds that we have for the project. We, in terms of like other funding sources, there is no HUD funding. I don't know if people maybe had questions around if some of the federal administration kind of budget challenges that have been coming up might impact this project, and thankful to say that that is not the case for this project. We did receive state capital funding that we expect to be able to build down in a timely way. We met our private campaign goal of about 1.3 million that we needed to privately raise. We were able to hit that a couple months ago, which is good for the project. And we do have a $1 million loan from South Shore Bank that is there as part of finalizing the remaining finances for the project at this point. So at this point, everything is on track to be completed on time. We expect construction to be done by February 2026. We would then expect occupancy for the tenants probably in April or May of 2026. Ideally a little sooner if we can, but we want to make sure that all of the lease-up packets and everything is completed, and that any final inspections from both the town and the state have plenty of time to be completed. So everything at this point is moving along well, and we're really excited about this project. We were able to bring our board there last week for an in-person site visit. They were really pleased with the site and the work that's happening. So yeah, it's been a great project so far. I just really appreciate the support from the town to do this.
Thank you, John. Does anyone from the committee have any questions for John? Okay.
Yeah, now, John, I will say I was very impressed. I was able to attend some of the weekly meetings leading up to your financing, and boy, what a thorough job you and the folks and all the banks, and it's a pretty complex process, obviously, and
Yeah.
I commend you for the work you've done to get this far. I drive by there occasionally, and I can see a lot of work being done, so we're looking forward to it.
Thanks very much. And before I have a question. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Have a good night.
Next up on the agenda, we're very pleased to have our own town manager, Tom Calta. Who's going to give us a little bit of update and color on what's going on, particularly with one of the main projects that we've worked on over the years is the train station. The town acquired that some time ago now, and we're able to do with CPC funding, and we've done a lot of work to preserve and protect that building. Tom has done a phenomenal job of getting additional funds for the town in addition to the CPC, and he's getting ready to do some exciting stuff, so I'm looking forward to hearing. Mr. Calta.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Thank you for having me this evening. It really is a very exciting time. Stoughton doesn't have, until now, a dedicated community center. And let me share with you what I mean by community center. It will be a first-class hall for 110 people. There could be a reception facility for a wedding if you chose. We've worked very hard during the design phase to maintain the historic nature of the building. By way of example, if you've been in that train station, there's a ticket booth. The ticket booth will remain it'll be look new, but it'll remain, and there'll be some original pieces as well, except it'll be a serving area for drinks and the like. We restarted this project after you took the lead in getting it off the ground. Through the CPC support, we were able to do all of the architectural, engineering, design, where it's a 100-year-old building. Engineering was a big piece of it. Every one of the mechanical systems has to be replaced. But over the past 10 years, the town was able to do the roof, was able to secure the building, secure the plumbing, so it didn't blow up and destroy the rest of the building. We secured a $2 million grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts after some pleading and some crying and some intimidating and so forth. We now have that money in-house. We began the project this past Monday. It will be done by the last day of November, and we'll be celebrating the holiday season in that building. I've asked Matt to pass out to you, and I think there are 5 of them, so if we're short one, I'll get them to you. The schedule for that project. By the way, when we put it out to bid, we had 3 bids come in within $100,000 of that $200,000 we procured. So right now, from a financial standpoint, we're sitting on, in addition to the $2 million, about $135,000 in funds that we may need for change orders, changes of condition. Some of that money perhaps is, I know the submittal Paul gave you was about $87,000 came from your $200,000 grant. That hard number is, remaining from your grant is unencumbered money of $31,489. And by that I mean we've spent a significant portion of it, and another portion of it has been encumbered towards our engineering company, our project manager, and so forth. We will use that money that's left over, $135,000 approximate, for any type of unforeseen conditions, change orders, and the like. We continue to, I'll get back to the project in a minute, we continue to kind of surf state and federal government for additional money. We've got an earmark for $150,000 with the Massachusetts House of Representatives that has been approved in the state budget that's not in the numbers I just cited for you. That'll be very helpful. And we've got a request, because we didn't know we were getting the state $2 million, for $2 million in the federal budget. Now, we know it works the way the federal government is going right now. However, we do know Senator Markey and Congressman Lynch budget requests. Will it be in the reconciliation bill? We won't need $2 million, but that leads us to the second phase. I'm sorry, before I do that, let me tell you what the inside will look at. How many of you have been in the building? So as you walk in the door, to the left, which is the smaller hall, will have a stage. It will have a dance floor. As you know, the ticket counter is right to your right. That will be a wet bar and serving area. There'll be a bathroom right off of that smaller area. That's where, if there's a reception or a party, the band would play there or the DJ would play there, the dance floor would be there. When you go into the larger room, and there will be doors that you can close between the two of them, that's going to be more like a hotel lobby. It's going to be a sitting area. It's going to be a place where if you're at the reception and you're not a dancer like me, you can have a chat on any number of couches or high tops or the like, and there'll be 2 bathrooms in that area. So that's phase 1. In terms of historic preservation, you see where the guardrail is across here? Not guardrail, the crown molding. If you look at this in the other building, we have to strip down to the cement studs, and that's what they are, cement studs. There's no insulation in the building at all. We have to strip that down to the bare minimum because that's the only way we can get the new HVAC and heating system into the building. That wood will be preserved. We're giving it to our historical commission. They're going to see if there's any want or need for rebuilding, if craftsmen want to rebuild from that area. We're going to save one of the original, I call them church pews, that we're having refinished. They'll be part of that sitting area. We may do 2 and have one part of the sitting area and one part of the dance area, again, for people like me that just sit and watch. That'll be a nice, comfortable place for me. The fireplace will become a working gas fireplace, which will create a great ambiance. All new lighting. From there up, the original wood that goes into that vaulted roof will remain the same. It'll just be finished. Cleaned and finished. It hasn't been cleaned or finished in multiple decades. From there down will be drywall with a pastel color. There'll be chair rail like this with wood wainscoting all around to try and match the period. And then all of the doors will be removed and taken out and refinished to their original condition and put back. The windows will have to be replaced. They're all rotted, and the panes are old. You can barely see through them, but they will look like the original windows. I had the pleasure of being in the White House 2 months ago and got an opportunity to go into the Oval Office, and I asked them, are those the original windows? They said, you would think so. They look exactly the same. They're the same shape. They're the same everything. But over the years, they deteriorate, they break, and that's the same as the train station. So those could not be preserved. So that's phase one. Phase two, for which I'm searching for funding right now, and would only come back to CPC in the last resort, which would be by September, is the outside of the building. As part of this contract, we finish repointing the building, repairing and restoring the clock, repairing and restoring the chimney on top of the roof. The roof is fairly new, as perhaps you know. But we want to make the outside another social gathering space. It's a beautiful portico, as you know, is to have everything wrapped in period type of decorative wrapping of the pillars, to clean, replace if rotted, paint if needed, everything inside, remove all of the surface area and replace it with granite or outdoor tile, and to close in the entire outside section with a stone garden where there'd be flowers on 3 sides of the building, just not on the MBTA side, because their property comes right up to our property. And it'll be a place you could go before an event and sit outside on an evening night. There'll be above fans. That's going to cost us, we believe, we've just procured the architect engineer for hardscaping. We don't have a hard number. We're assuming it's going to be about $500,000 to finish the outside. And it's not a top priority. If we don't get it, we don't have to do it. But it certainly would put a bow on the project and make it beautiful from the outside. And included in that second phase will be all the new landscaping around the building. And if you want to get a sense as to what it's going to look like, by October, you're going to see this whole property completely landscaped. We got the final funding in place today to supplement what you have supported in the project. And it will be absolutely beautiful and something we can be proud of, with outdoor lighting that lights up the building at night. So you'll have a town hall that you can be proud of. So phase one, again, will be done by Christmas and Hanukkah. Phase two, we're hunting for the money now, but we are moving forward with the architectural and design of the hardscape so that we can get hard numbers for bidding purposes. So with that, I've got a schedule that I've put in front of you, which is the contractor's work schedule of his work plan. The issues that still have to be resolved that I'm working with the contractor on now with Mr. Jaffoon is a sound system, lighting, the type of lighting we want, furniture, security, the outside construction. The fireplace will be finished, but I want it to be a gas fireplace, so there's no soot in the building and so forth and so on. We can turn it on, we can shut it off, we can go home. So that's something we're working on, and to have the dance floor installed. Those things were not in the original spec, but we know we can raise money. By the way, another source of completing the project will be free cash. As you know, or as you've heard, Stoughton ranks probably in the top 10% of the communities and our financial condition. We've gone from being in very serious condition 3 years ago and less than $2 million in our savings account to close to $20 million in our savings account. We're a town that's is the envy of the South Shore and of the entire Commonwealth in terms of our financial capacity. So we will finish this. We'll do it in a first-class way. It's something you'll be proud of as investors in the project. It's something the town will be proud of, and it's something we will use all the time. And with that, I'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
I have a question. Actually, I have a comment. In the basement of the train station is another fireplace directly below the one.
correct, right.
And the last time I was down there, there was a beautiful set of cast iron andirons that should go up to that first floor.
When you say andirons, I'm not sure what you
The
mean.
things you used to put into a fireplace to hold the logs, and it was two.
Oh, no kidding.
They were matched. It was a pair, and they were beautifully designed, and hopefully they're still there.
I'll go over there tomorrow. Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you been in the clock tower? Have you climbed up? Have you climbed up into the clock
I
tower?
haven't, no. I'm older than you.
Elliot Hansen convinced me to go help him wind up the clock when it was still functioning. And you climb up a set of stairs, and you could see where the fire had started from the train that crashed in way back. And then you go straight up a ladder, open a hatch, watch out for the pigeon poop, and then I got to crank this thing. It was like a grandfather clock, and the weights go all the way to the cellar. And Elliot said, "Okay, start cranking." He just needed some muscle. It's but a place.
We're very excited about it. I'll tell you, it's the best part of my day. I go over there every day to inspect what they've done lately. And, they're just starting, so I'm very anxious. I want to see things happen quickly.
About 20 years ago, we had the Key, meaning the Friends, and we held a concert there with some people from the Cape. John Walsh, Cynthia's brother, built a stage, which is that back at the Cape and Farm. We had about 85 people there, and Julie Gito was a teacher at the junior high, and she got some of the senior students to dress in black slacks and a white blouse to serve non-alcoholic drinks and hors d'oeuvres. We did that 2 years in a row and never asked anybody's permission. It's a great hall to do just what you described earlier.
The good old days.
Yeah.
I used to drop my wife off there. She worked in Boston at the Prudential Building, and I was down the street at Jetline. It's how I started my career. It's where I'm ending my career in Stoughton. And I shouldn't say this on the air, but I will. I used to wait for the train to come in, and some days I'd get out early. And if you recall, the town spa used to be across the street.
Right.
And the draft beers were 50 cents, so I'm told. And it was a great place to wait for the train to come in.
Forgive me for interrupting, but we do have a long agenda. I will, by the way, reiterate how exciting it is. I mean, as I said, I've been on the CPC for 13 years. I was also back then a member of the SRA, and we worked hard and long trying to get something done with that train station. So
I can
I
tell you,
congratulate Tom for getting it done, and I really look forward to that.
No, I would like to, Michael, congratulate the CPC. If you had not intervened when you did, that would be another armory, and that's my next challenge, is the armory. So I think we should all be grateful for the work you did, for the contributions you made, and for the accountability you brought to the project. So thank you.
Thank you. John Lenahan?
Maybe my battery's dead. Anyways, I remember when the town spa beers were 35 cents.
I'm glad I don't.
But I have a couple of questions. That $2 million, you said, is it in hand?
It's a drawdown grant.
Okay, so you have to get reimbursed.
We submit requisitions, and they send us the check.
Okay, because I'm working on state grants as well, and that's the only way we ever get them. I
Yeah.
wanted to learn how you did that. What's the operating plan? Is it to rent it out, to make opportunities for local entrepreneurs, or?
It would be rented, first of all, that's a decision of the board. It's not mine. What I'm going to recommend to the board is it be rented out to citizens of Stoughton. It's not a for-profit. He doesn't know it yet, but Matt's going to manage the building. And our maintenance staff will keep it up. But it's a community center. It will be used for the community, not for out-of-town parties.
I will just tell you, I've been to another town's similar, it was a barn in that case, but what a great community building asset it is. So
Sure is.
I think this is really exciting, and I'm very excited to support you.
Thank you.
So that's it for me.
Hi, I too want to congratulate you or express my joy at this happening. Could you clarify what you said about the wood that's going to be given to the Historical Commission?
We're going to store it, yes, sir. We're going to store it at the Armory. That's all the Armory is good for right now. We're not going to sell it, but if there are people that have got an interest in using that wood to refurbish something for historical purposes, we'll give it to them.
And that's the wood that's coming from where?
From the trim on down, because that's where the mechanical systems are being installed.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, members.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next up, we have another exciting project that is just underway. It's been in the works for several years. We've got Matt Cashon, the town's Director of Recreation, and he's going to fill us in on a lot to do with Halloran Park and the multi-court.
Matt Koshon, Recreation Director. I'm also joined by Laura Whittier, who is our new program facilitator for the Recreation Department. She started 3 weeks ago, so we're giving her a crash course on municipal government, and we're starting here with you guys. Since the last update last month, we have had some progress out there. They've done all their erosion control. All the materials have been delivered to the site. What they've been working on out there is installing the footings for the basketball hoops and the basketball hoops. As of today, all 4 hoops are installed, and today they almost finished backfilling the drainage. Engineering department was on site today to inspect that. We ran into some slight delays on just getting materials delivered to the site, a little bit with the weather. We also did have to get a structural engineer involved with the basketball hoops because they were going in so deep and next to where the drainage was. This is all run by the town engineering department. They all signed off and agreed on it. I did attach, and I'm sorry I didn't print one out to have in front of you tonight, but I did attach in the application. The project manager sent me a task list. There it is. With all the potential completion dates. We did get pushed back a little bit, so they are expected to be closing out August 1st. Obviously, it's weather dependent. Another thing to throw out to the public as well is once they pour the concrete, there's not going to be much movement on site because that concrete has to sit for 26 days. On the 14th day and the 21st day, they'll be on site to stress the steel. Once that's completed, surfacing takes very quick, and they'll finish up everything else and be out of there. So right now it's moving along. It's been really nice getting a lot of emails from residents. I'm excited about the project, walking by asking what it is. And that is all I got. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, comments? Thank you, Matt.
It sounds great. It sounds great. It looks like a great project. It's coming along. I'm assuming in budget at this point?
Yeah, we're very much in budget.
Yep.
Very much so.
And the bid came in under budget.
Yeah, correct.
So, barring any unforeseen change orders,
Yep.
that should still be the case as it goes forward.
Yep, correct.
And completion date is anticipated for,
Yeah, they want to be out of there by August 1st.
okay. That would be great.
So weather, hoping for a dry summer.
Again, I'll reiterate, thank you, Matt. I mean, a lot of effort on Matt's part to keep this project alive and going through some difficult times. The original budgets were a little bit more than we could afford. Matt worked at it and found a way to get it done. So,
Yeah, and
great addition to the town.
a big thank you to the CPC board as well for being supportive throughout the whole process. A lot of residents are excited about this, and I really appreciate it. And it's going to, add a nice addition to Halloran Park.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Thanks.
Next project, historic site signs, our own Dwight McCarron, who I thought for a second there was going to let us complete the railroad station discussion without making a comment. I would have been shocked, but I know it's so near and dear to Dwight.
Can I do it from here, or should I go up there?
stand.
You can stand.
The historic signs are progressing. The bases are all completed. We're taking a look, though, at the actual nature of the signs, because one of them has deteriorated badly. So we're in discussion with the CO Graphics people to see if there's a more expensive process, which might, if it were better, might mean that we would complete fewer signs, but they would be better signs, and we'd come back to complete the other signs, but that hasn't been determined yet. We had a program at the Historical Society on these signs a couple weeks ago, where we put together a map that shows the location of all the current signs, which are 18 of them, and which you've seen around town. There'll be the plan is to install another 11 signs, one of which will be at the train station, at the railroad station, the old fire station, out at Stoughton Junction, and a series of other places. Of course, the question, and we hope to have those signs completed by the end of August and installed before snow flies, but that's the plan. Any questions?
Thanks, Mike. This is round two, I understand, or is it round 2 or 3 of various sites and homes?
This is round 3 of signs. Homes were separate, but this is the third round of these historic signs being put in.
Yes, I was just wondering, the sign that deteriorated so badly, how, is that one of the originals?
Yeah, we're trying to time. It's the one across the street from us at the Universalist Church, and it does face the sun, but it is so badly deteriorated compared to any of the other signs. I mean, it's basically gone bleached completely out. So the installer, Chris Carlo, is going to go by and take a look at it to see what he thinks. But also, as I look at the other signs, I mean, over time, if we were to find out now, there would be a more expensive process, which we didn't do in the past, that would make the signs last longer. That's what we're exploring.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. As to the updates, one of my favorite projects in town, which Terry is going to give us a big update, mainly because I have a dog who loves to go to the dog park down at Cape and Reynolds, but this is one that has a long story behind it, and Rich has done yeoman's work in getting us here and getting some additional funding for the town over and above the CPC, so I won't steal any of your thunder. I'll let you go, Rich.
Well, basically, the project is 98% complete. The contractors have to come back and do a few items, pick up the material for preventing erosion. They have to straighten out a water fountain that's not quite plumb. It's that kind of, checklist. Also, recently, the Stanton Foundation, which gave us a lot of money for the dog park, recently sent us a letter about a month and a half ago stating that we were eligible for another $12,500 and could we use the money. Fran Brutinetti sent me emailed me the letter, and I said, yes, we'll figure out where we can spend it. It has to be spent at the dog park, but not for maintenance. It has to be some sort of capital investment. So our first intention or thought was perhaps have some video surveillance for, God forbid, someone falls and nobody's around, or a dog bites another dog, but it would have cost $30,000 because the only electricity on the property is in the main house, and the dog park is the furthest from the house. So a wireless video surveillance system would have cost about $30,000. And so we decided to think of something else. And if you've been there, you'll notice there's a small dog park and a large dog park. And they're identical in every way except for size, but they have the same attributes, seating arrangements, et cetera. And just outside the unleashing area is another concrete area, which is all ADA compliant. And it has 2 benches, one on the big side, one on the little side. And it was decided that we would put up a structure above it to keep the rain off people when it's raining or snowing. And we were able to find a product that is weather resistant and will complement the gazebo in terms of its design, and it'll be one for each side. And the current contractor, Dandrell, said they would install them. And initially, the cost of the material, which is actually shipping in Thursday, tomorrow, and their prices installed exceeded the 12.5. Fran Brutinetti is a great negotiator, and she said, listen, guys, we've given you a lot of work. This is a piece of cake. Can you keep it within the 12.5? And they said yes. So that will be, it arrives tomorrow. I don't know when Dandrell will show up for the contract work to be completed, but that'll be a nice addition. In terms of the acceptance of the dog park, it has been widely accepted. The shade trees are there for a purpose. The ground cover is easy to maintain, to be able to spot dog poop so you don't step in it. That was a big consideration. The trash cans are there. They're emptied weekly. They have to be. People are really starting to use this place. And we've got a lot of Canton people coming over from the Glen Echo area. One person, Jonathan, has his own morning group of all Canton people. And he felt that some people would show up without poop bags, and so he donated a long-handled spade, shovel, and an iron rake as his contribution. That's pretty nice. About a month ago, Dave Walsh, who does Around Town, asked if he could interview us at the dog park, and I said yes. And I was a little leery because I was interviewed by the Brockton Enterprise some years ago, and they misquoted me so much, I got phone calls, angry phone calls. So I was a little concerned, but having seen Dave Walsh's work in previous interviews, he does a good job. And so it was able to, on a windy day, his crew, the SMAC crew, were amazing in dealing with the wind. It was so windy, I had to adjust my hearing aids for the wind, but they managed to do a good job. And that's got over 218 hits. So that's making this project more known. In terms of the community garden, I submitted the rules and regulations for community garden, which was very similar to other towns like Canton. I looked at Needham only because they have over 100 raised garden beds at their community garden, which is extensive. So I used that as a model. And things go slow in Town Hall. And that rules and regulations and the fee was recently approved by the town manager on the last day of our town meeting, and it was turned over to Reggie, our town clerk, where she will collect the monies for, quote, a license to use the community garden raised beds for one season. And then next year, if you still want to have that same spot, you can, or you can give it up. We're going to charge $25, mainly because it's a late opening. Hopefully, the documents which accompany my report are in the hands of Reggie. She's got to finalize that. She's already started to create an account with our accounting department, so those monies will go from the clerk's desk right into a specific account to keep things simple. Next year, the reason we're charging $25 is town water is being provided to the gardeners, and we just want to cover the cost of that water. We have no idea how much it would cost to have 36 community gardens all being used at the same time. So this year will be our test year. If we can do it for 25, so be it. If we have to raise it a little bit, 35 I don't think is out of the question. To give you an example, Needham has all these raised gardens, and they're 12 feet long by 4 feet wide. Ours are 8 by 4. They charge $120 a season. Now, Needham's a wealthier town than this town, and I thought if we do the math between our size community garden and theirs, it would be $80. That didn't seem reasonable to me. So the fact we have a late start, we should have had gardeners signed up in March and early April. We reduced it to 25, and I spoke with Matt this afternoon about the pollination gardens that they have. We had a grant for around town. They have 3 of them, and I was wondering how they were doing and what they put in them. And he said indigenous perennials. And I was asking because I anticipate we may not have all those raised gardens used this year, and I thought, why not put some beautiful flowers there and let people pick them and let the bees do their job? And that's a really important thing. So if we can't rent them all this year, then we'll just plant flowers. And if next year somebody wants, and we have extra people, we'll just convert. We're very flexible. So that's basically my report.
Thank you, Rich. Any questions for Rich? I'll point out, it's a great example. Rich is a member of the CPC, but he really was involved with this project as his role as on the Friends of Cape and Reynolds. And he not only never gave up about getting it done, but even now, he's still thinking about, well, if we got some empty garden bins for the year, we can use that productively and make it something better for the town. So thank you, Rich.
You're welcome. I have to thank Matt, because he was, I was, picking his brain for the last year and a half. Thank you, Matt.
Okay, great. That's a lot of good information.
Thank you, Rich.
We've been able to share, and again, I'll reiterate, these are the types of updates that we do on a regular basis. We have various projects. As I said, there's 25, 30 projects going on at any given point in time. But now we're also going to add in a little flavor for the CPC, and we have a guest speaker online, Colleen Doherty, who is the Executive Director of the Stoughton Housing Authority, and I believe is at Taunton as well. Colleen worked with the Community Preservation Committee a few years ago, did a tremendous job for us. During COVID, we were able to put out a program of rental assistance to help some people in town, a very meaningful contribution to those folks. And we were able to do it, I think, at zero cost, because Colleen and her team took on all the administrative work for it. So Colleen's going to give us, I think, some insight about housing in general, which we all know is a problem in the town, in the Commonwealth, in the country, and some things that we may be able to do to help. So with that, Colleen, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much for some time to speak. To just talk a little bit about the recently, it was completed really in June of 2022. We started the COVID Emergency Housing Assistance Program in July of 2020. So when you think about July of 2020, that was very early on in the COVID pandemic. And it's important because it shows how quickly the CPC was able to move on this type of program, which ended up assisting 47 families in the Stoughton community. And the cost that was $372,000 was put out, and it was up to $9,000 worth of emergency housing assistance to families who may have lost their jobs in the beginning of the pandemic, had come upon hard times in the pandemic. And this was a great program that really provided a crucial gap in funding, because the other programs through the state and the federal government had yet to really kick in, because at the speed that the CPC was able to work, our program kicked in quickly and was able to bring aid quickly and bridge that gap until the other programs came in. So really proud of that program and proud of the CPC for being forward thinking on that and moving quickly on that in a real emergency situation. And that's not maybe often a CPC role where they need to really step up during an emergency and really move things quickly. And not all CPCs were able to accomplish this, but Stoughton's was, and the town should be really proud of that. Because a lot of families were kept in their houses, especially during those beginning times of the COVID pandemic. So want to really commend the CPC for their action on that. The Stoughton Housing Authority has always had a relationship with the CPC. That has been a strong relationship. I'm a member of the Stoughton Housing Authority Board, generally sits on the CPC. The Housing Authority provides public housing and Section 8 voucher assistance to residents, and that is really our main mission. And there are times when we are able to provide other assistance through that mission, as we've done throughout the years. We are looking forward to hopefully expanding some of our housing within the next 2 years. and we'll be looking to apply for future funding with the CPC. We're very early in our investigative stages on these projects, but we did receive a grant from the Executive Office of Housing and Communities Development, and that has allowed us to hire architects and begin to look at possibilities for even land that we currently do own that we may be able to expand on. So we're excited about that and hopeful about that. And looking forward to applying to the next round for some CPC funding, especially as we get closer to more plans and knowing costs. But it would be, I think, a great addition to the Stoughton community. The housing we have now is great and, of course, limited. But do also like to point out that public housing and the voucher program are unique. The public housing program, we are the only ones that provide this type of deeper subsidy to residents of very low income. And it really is crucial, especially in Massachusetts. It's of course crucial across the nation, but especially in the state of Massachusetts where the rents are so high that it is difficult even for a single mom, for example, who is working full time at a job that might be Walmart or the grocery store or a fast food restaurant. It is very hard for them to afford the rents in Massachusetts. So having that deep subsidy is important. We are different from affordable housing, and we, of course, support affordable housing initiatives across the state, but we are different in that our subsidies are deep, meaning that people pay 30% of their income to rent, and we really do target that lower income threshold, and really do look to help families that most likely cannot afford even an affordable housing opportunity, and they really need that public housing assistance. So I think that love being part of the town of Stoughton. Stoughton supports its public housing programs for sure, and we really appreciate that, and not all communities do that. So a big shout out to the town of Stoughton, who I think really care so deeply about their residents, and I love listening to these other projects that are going on because they're just so resident focused. They're so focused on your citizens, and that's fantastic. So I want to just give a huge thanks to all the support that you've allowed us and to the community as a whole. And we're looking forward to continue to work with the CPC. It's a relationship that we really enjoy. So thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. Any questions or comments from the board?
Just to mention that Mark Zemanian was so instrumental in, I think, getting that fund together that she mentioned to help people during COVID. So I just wanted to give him a shout out.
No, Mark was.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes,
Colleen,
definitely.
and I can assure you that the board looks forward to working on housing. If there's been, and I don't want to call it a frustration, but the numbers we put up there earlier, that housing as a category is way behind the other categories, and I really am excited to see that take a big jump in the next 2 years with the projects we've already approved, and would love to entertain what you can come up with, and as you said, make it work for the residents of Stoughton, because that's what we're here for. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Mr. Cauchon. Again, Matt, did you have anything you wanted to add about recreation? I know we kind of put you on the hook for Halloran Park, but.
I was going to give Larice the floor.
Okay, look, I'm sorry. I didn't know which one was going to. Great, Larice.
No problem. I'll just go over in-progress projects and also completed projects. The first in-progress project is the Marksfield. Dandel is the same contractor as the Stoughton Dog Park. And they were contacted earlier this week, and they're going to be executing contracts and bonds and insurance. They have to make sure they're provided to the town, and then they will schedule a pre-conference meeting to review the schedule, and the project will start this summer. The other is, as we heard, was the youth baseball fields, which are absolutely gorgeous and hadn't been taken care of for a while. I mean, as best you could, but they look absolutely beautiful now. And everything's done there except for the procurements have to be closed out. Matt told everyone about the multi-sport court at Halloran Park, and as he said, the crews are there. You can see the fenced-in area with all the work that's going on. The basketball poles are up, and everything's starting to move forward, and that will be completed around August 1st. The other project we have going on is the Hanson School Playground. The playground equipment and rubber surface pouring has been ordered. There was a 26-week lead time when the equipment was ordered. The equipment is expected to be in the end of June and delivered to the installer. Construction is to start this summer, and start date will be determined once the equipment's here. Construction should take about 4 weeks, and due to the recent weather and rain, many of the playground installers are running behind because of unexpected start times. And just wanted to let everybody know that there has been some very successful completed projects from CPC funds for recreation. I think one of the biggest for us would be the Pear Street Playground. This project is totally completed, is heavily used. It's right near the Stoughton Center, and the playground equipment is in remarkable condition. And the only thing that will have to be looked at in the future is the what they call poured-in-place surface, just with wear and tear over time. I have to say, I use the walking track all the time down there, and that's used very heavily. And there's benches and picnic tables, and it's a really nice place to visit. The other project would be the Glen Echo, which everybody knows that is completed, except for the recreation phase, which is a potential project in the future. Thinking maybe disc golf, but also the Wilkins School Playground. This project was completed a few years ago. They restored an really old playground, and it was mostly unusable due to a really serious drainage problem. But the playground now has put in place with updated equipment, and the Recreation Department keeps up the maintenance of that playground. I have some potential projects that might be coming up in the future, and one is the Colts Field, youth soccer fields. The other one is Dennison Athletic Complex renovation, the disc golf, which I just mentioned, and maybe a future Glen Echo boat ramp. And that's it.
Thank you, Luis.
Thank you, Luis. That is, I mean, as we saw with the numbers when I had the charts up, I mean, recreation has been our biggest spending category, probably the biggest category in terms of the number of projects, but it's amazing the variety of projects, from playgrounds for the little kids, some stuff on open space for the outdoors people. We did some work down at the golf course for Cedar Hill, and just in all the projects that Luis mentioned. So I think that obviously adds a lot to the community of town. Any other questions, comments from the board?
I just like your comment about Cedar Hill, too, because that one has really,
Right.
truly paid off. It's, in real dollars. Now the place is supporting itself and more.
Yeah, no, it's a great example of how CPC funds, which come from mostly from residents and businesses here in Stoughton, can be used to leverage other things and really get us going in the right direction. So, okay. John, interesting that you're talking, because any comments you want to make on open space and
Sure.
some of the needs? We've had some nice projects there as well. So.
Basically, for anybody who doesn't know, the mission of the Open Space Committee is to facilitate the preservation of open space, effectively nature in Stoughton, for our town, our residents, and our future residents. And I think it really goes to preserving the character of Stoughton and to the quality of life in Stoughton. And we have other beneficiaries, including non-tax-paying wildlife, and as well as our shared climate, which benefits by the space we do produce and the climate change mitigating effects of that. So in FY25, we had a lot of activity. We finally closed on the Benson Road property, and we're well on the way to getting a conservation restriction done for it. We're doing that with the Wildlands Trust. We looked at a couple of other properties in Stoughton last fall, and for various reasons have not pursued them and may not ever pursue them, but we do carefully consider properties we want to bring before town meeting before we do it, and make sure that they are something that brings benefit relative to the cost that the taxpayers put out, and that town meeting will accept. Because ultimately, all these decisions have to be ratified by town meeting. We make recommendations here on the committee, we don't make decisions. We collaborate a lot with the Stoughton Conservation Commission, and we have the chair in the room. Thank you, Jerry. We are looking at some other properties to acquire potentially, and that we hope to protect. And there's also some small parcels that Jerry's become aware of that around Glen Echo that may be donated to the town that we'll be looking at. So they're quite small, but a variety of them. And we as a committee, as well as the CPC, the open space, as well as CPC, really appreciates the public input, public ideas, public participation in the work we're doing. So I want to encourage that. And not everything we look at necessarily has to be an acquisition. It can be a conservation restriction. It can be other ways of protecting the nature of Stoughton, for the kids of Stoughton in particular. And we are also shortly to embark on developing a new open space and recreation plan for the town, which funding for that was approved at town meeting. So an exciting new chapter to open up. But that's about it for fiscal year 25.
Thank you, John. Any questions or comments from the committee? A lot of good stuff. I was going to mention, I'm glad you brought up the plan that was approved, or the plan that you're going to redo that was approved at town meeting, because it really tells a great story about the efforts of a lot of people over a lot of years on the open space, and we've been able to help a little bit.
They are
so.
a bear to put those plans together.
Yes, they are. Okay, and Dwight, did you have anything else? We've talked a lot about historic, and I know you've got a lot more to tell us, but anything you want to tell us?
I'll keep it brief because I have spoken. I just remind that over the years, the historic preservation piece has paid for a lot of work on Town Hall, a lot of work on the train station, which has been mentioned, some on the fire station, and at the Lucius Clap. All large chunks of money have gone into preserving those historic things. And we look forward to the Lucius Clap in the future. We're going to have the handicapped accessibility come up at some point. So that's a 800-pound gorilla that's out there. There's already been a plan done for it. So that's stay tuned to see when we move on that.
Okay, thank you, Dwight. Any additional comments, questions? Okay, next on our agenda is the public input, the reason we're here tonight, or at least in the public hearing. So let me throw out there, I know we have at least one, if not more, people here in the room that wanted to maybe ask a question or talk a little bit about a project that they were bringing up. Introduce yourself and...
You got it. So thanks to the CPC committee for seeing us, giving us the opportunity to meet with you today. My name's Eric Smith. And
Megan Texera.
be gentle on me, my first town meeting in person. So both Meg...
Old hat.
both Megan and I are board members for Stoughton Youth Soccer. This is my first year. Your first year too? Yeah. So our first year on the board. We have a new president, Chris Young, and we've had some turnover in our board. So kind of new beginnings for us. With the new membership, we've been looking to re-engage in some efforts to enhance the soccer experience for the Stoughton community and, of course, our children. Personally, I've been a coach for the past 4 years and a Stoughton Youth Soccer parent for a few additional years. And the growing program we have hosts about 450 male and female players in both the fall and the spring season for our in-house program, which is pre-K to second grade, and our town travel program, which is a member of Stoughton, with a member of the South Shore Soccer League. That's from 3rd grade through 10th grade. So one of the most challenging aspects that I've personally experienced, and definitely in the past several months, is navigating the field conditions for our 3 soccer fields at Coles Field, which is, as you probably know, located on West Street and right next to our animal control facility. You might be aware the drainage for the field is a bit challenged due to the composition and the history of it. So I've been learning a little bit about the history of this field. So I don't have all of the facts, but my understanding is it historically was a landfill. It has a cement cap on top of that. At some point, some time ago, about 4 feet of sod was laid on top of that. And over time, that has whittled down quite a bit. What we've experienced because of these conditions, so even in a winter where we really didn't have much snow and melt, we had an extended period of really soggy playing surfaces. We've had to repeatedly suspend the use of our fields and shift game locations all over the place in order to facilitate the season. The issues are more prevalent on our fields 2 and 3, which are at a lower elevation than field 1. We have puddling and significant sogginess often occurs if we get anywhere close to half an inch or greater of rain or accumulation over time. This occurs throughout the fields, mostly in our key areas, which are down the middle and in our goal boxes. So it can become completely saturated. And if you're familiar with the pool toys, those little the plastic toys where you can suck up water and shoot it out, that's what we use to disperse the puddles in order to make sure that the kids can play. So it's a bit challenged. And it's not just the day-to-day not being able to play on the field because we have puddles, but what happens over time, those soggy conditions, when we do play on them, and the looseness of the soil will cause that sod to pull up. So we end up with spotted dirt areas, they dry, and it's not safe conditions for the kids, or it's not great conditions for the kids. And it becomes problematic for us to continue playing as the season goes on. So we have to make tough choices. And I'll talk a little bit about our tough choices briefly. But we had a host of field closures, the most I've ever seen this year. So basically, we closed the field from the start of the year, which would have been around March, all the way to April 18th. We had additional field closures May 6th, May 9th, May 15th, and then through that Memorial Day monsoon from May 22nd to May 26th. So a number of times when we just had to completely close these fields from practice, from games, et cetera. We have in-house games. Those are for the little kids on Sundays. We had to postpone 2 of those 8 weeks. We ended up moving one to a Friday night, which can be a little tough for the parents. And we unfortunately lost 1 week because of the reschedules. And not only did we reschedule, but we had 1 week where we literally had to line up the fields all on the furthest left side of the field because the rest of the fields were saturated. So there are some challenges. And then in our town travel, which is, obviously half of our games normally would be played in Stoughton and the other half played on the visiting sites. We did have a number of games, 3 or 4, that had to be completely canceled due to field conditions. And when things get canceled and we have to wait that long before we can play, we start running out of time to complete the games within our allotted time that South Shore Soccer League provides us. We took various efforts. We relined fields, moved our 7 versus 7, which is the smallest field, into different areas just so that we can get the games played. We were lucky enough to be able to move a number of our 11-11 games to the high school. So that saved us because the fields would have been in worse shape if we had played all of those games, especially on our field 2, which is where we play 11v11. We also had to move some of our games to opposing town fields where they had a turf facility where they're not as impacted by the weather. So just to take a little bit of a step back, but back in the fall, we had started conversations with James Conlon regarding some opportunities. We started to investigate what opportunities we might have to remediate our situation, improve the field conditions. We had decided to, after what happened early this spring, we decided to add a little prioritization to this. So I was lucky enough to run into our Chairman Mike and Barry at my son participating in the baseball opening day and see the great work that CPC did there. And so we started this conversation to look at what opportunities we may have to begin a project for field remediation. Tomorrow, we'll be meeting with Matt Cothon and Mark Tisdale at the fields to get some insight from them on what opportunities we might have for field remediation. My early conversations with James, he had suggested that we would start looking at grant funding for feasibility study. Study contents would include environmental aspects such as stormwater runoff, drainage, status of the site as a former landfill, and presence of bentonite, for absorption. Should also include a future design proposal, which would outline how we can remediate the situation. So one of our fellow coaches in Stoughton Youth Soccer is also a engineer, and he did some quick work for us to get a ballpark of what it would take to perform remediation on 2 of the fields. Field 1 is actually in fairly good shape. We actually didn't use it in the fall. We allowed it to sit, and it's in good shape, but field 2 and 3 at lower elevation are definitely in dire need of repair. So he had provided a cost estimate, and just to note some of the assumptions in this, sorry, this is loading for me. So he utilized Mass DOT District 5 unit pricing. The project entails 2 phases. So if we had to do work on both fields at the same time, that would jeopardize us being able to have a season. So if we can come up with some kind of plan with one field, one site open, and then remediate that, and then the second site after that is completed, that would allow us to hopefully have a full season for our community. So 2-phase approach, and the general consensus in this proposal is that the sites would be raised by 2 feet. One of the things he noted is, without knowing how much soil is between the cap, is above that cap, it's difficult to know what would be required. But his expectation is we would probably require around 2 feet in order to do that. The less we require, the less cost could be incurred. So his back of the napkin estimate, and this is without the feasibility study being completed, and this also includes a 25% contingency, so he's got some room to negotiate on this, but he did estimate this at about $2.7 million. So it is a significant sum, but it has some significant benefits for our program in our community. So we do understand the community presentation plan includes goals around meeting the recreational needs of Stoughton residents via access to safe, well-maintained facilities and programs. We're a volunteer program dedicated to helping build social capital by using soccer as a means to promote physical fitness, reduce stress and anxiety, and build social skills such as teamwork, leadership, and positive peer interactions. So our hope and our belief is that by remediating our fields and the field conditions, we're going to provide and ensure a safer and more readily available environment for our young residents of Stoughton and our soccer fans. So, that's my speech.
Thank you.
I know that was a lot.
No, it's a lot, but I mean, I love the idea. I mean, you kind of slipped in there 450 kids using the program. I mean, it just speaks to what kind of benefits are there for the community. And I can say I look forward to hearing more and learning more, digging in. I think you'll find the committee can be pretty thorough, and our goal is to try to get these things done and to find ways to get them done. We do not have unlimited resources, but we have a need in the town, and our goal is to try to make that work. So we'll, any questions, comments? Rich?
Hi, my name's Rich Terry, and I spent a lot of time on those fields as a coach in the youth soccer South Shore League when I lived in Whitman, and as a referee. I was a state one level referee as well. And everything you said is probably worse than what you described. And it's been wet for as long as I can remember. By raising it, are you anticipating putting a turf on that or grass?
What we had discussed was a grass covering. Now, there's a couple different options there. If we go the hydroseed route, then we would have less challenges with watering and having that grass be able to grow sufficiently. You did talk a little bit about sod. Sod would need a sufficient amount of watering in order to not die off. So we'd have to look at some things like that. Mm-hmm. But this plan, it'd be a grass field.
Second question, there's a lot of unused space in that whole area, particularly over by, when you come around the dog pound and you're heading out, there's a pile of dirt, probably 2.5, 3 stories high. Mm-hmm. And it's been there forever. And then beyond that is the navigation equipment for Logan Airport or for Norwood Airport.
Rich, forgive me for cutting you off, but I think you're getting into the discussion we should have at a future meeting when they put in an application.
Okay.
We're not trying to solve the problem. I think having them here today was great to identify the need and the potential for us to help.
Okay.
But specifics of what we're going to do, I think, should come later and sooner than later because we're moving fast.
My question is, or my comment is, have you considered building another field that could probably be cheaper in that unused space, and it would give you another field to, take the pressure off for a whole season. Instead of 3 fields, you have 4. That might be something to consider.
Honestly, it's something actually discussed. Yeah, we can take that back. We do run it, like I mentioned, we actually closed a field last year. It does create challenges. When you have grass fields, you do need to allow them to recover. So if that was an opportunity, we'd love to entertain that.
Another great example of, I think, the design of the committee by having representatives from each of the areas across the town, the expertise, the experience that some of these folks have, that we really can add value and help you get to a better place. And I would expect you'll hear questions from members of the committee that you might not have thought of. So that's great. But
I appreciate it. Hopefully,
in the interest of time here, I would like to.
I'm hoping you haven't given me a card before if you ref
John?
my games, right?
A few.
Just real quick, you talked about using bentonite.
I believe it actually was in use, but I'm not, as I said, I don't have 100% confirmation on whether or not that was in use in the original.
Okay, well, I'm no expert, but I do know we've used bentonite to create ponds because it swells and plugs the gaps between the ground, so I'd just be careful.
Okay. Duly noted.
Okay. Anybody else?
I was just going to thank both of you for coming tonight, and I'm available, call
Yeah.
or email, or, help you put something together if that's your wish, because the deadlines are coming up.
Deadlines are fast
Appreciate
upon
that,
us,
Barry.
and no, it sounds like a real need, as we talked about, Eric, and it'd be a great project for the town, so we'll see what we can do to find a way. I mean, we've done baseball, we've done the
Lacrosse.
Marks is for the Stoyak, the lacrosse league. We've done golf, we've done, again, the variety of things we can do is impressive, so thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and I guess Molly, if you could introduce yourself and tell us why you're here.
Good evening. My name is Molly Cochran. I am Chair of the Climate Action Plan Committee and also member of the Energy and Sustainability Committee. And I'm really just here not to come forward with this specific project, but to ask that, sort of ask of CBC and ask whether CBC is bearing in mind, some of these considerations, obviously, that relate to sustainability, climate change, and adaptation to a changing climate, which is going to have more extreme weather events, flooding, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just going to run down a list of things that are, thoughts that might relate to a specific project or that might be just general considerations that I would hope that the committee would take in mind as it goes through project by project. I'm glad to hear there's already a community garden at the dog park. I actually just heard about that a couple of days ago. So I think that's, again, something that there also might be another opportunity to have it, to have a large community garden, and maybe even with composting facilities there to help train people to create compost or to bring their food waste there to create compost. I would also want to suggest that where there are plantings, and maybe I'm too late on whatever is going to be redone as far as the town hall, wherever there are plantings, to bear in mind pollinator plants, certainly, and native plantings, as opposed to plantings that are non-native, which may look very beautiful, but there's also lots of beautiful alternatives. I think there really is a crisis with the pollinators and with the biodiversity, that we should all sort of bear that in mind and make the choices of the native plantings. And obviously preserving the tree canopy, I'm sure, is something that is on the foremost of everybody's mind. And recently read a very interesting article about a major tree planting enterprise in, was it Louisville, Kentucky? And the Nature Conservancy was involved in that, as was the National Institute of Health, because they were tying it to specific health outcomes. But I learned from that actually, with respect to taking pollution out of the air, that conifers are actually the preferred trees. So that's something to bear in mind as well. Just again, with respect to resilience in the face of potential extreme weather events and climate change, you want to bear in mind what type of substance is around the project, whether it's asphalt or whether it's something that could absorb water. And I have looked up the definition of bioswales. I know rain gardens, which again, the point is to capture the rain and let it go down to the groundwater, as opposed to having it go into the storm drains. And bioswales, which probably some of you know, are vegetated channels that capture, filter, and infiltrate stormwater runoff from impervious surfaces, so that's something to bear in mind in design, obviously. I also think it would be great with whatever existing projects or new projects that, or new buildings such as the senior housing, that when you bear in mind parking lots, that you please try to make sure that there is infrastructure for EV charging stations as people turn to buying, more electric cars. And also would like to see bike racks every place. Like any place anybody goes in town, whether it's a CPC place or a shopping center, it would be great if there's plenty of bike racks there so that you can feel that you can use that mode of transportation and not have your bike stolen. Also, it would be great, again, wherever these whether it's the dog park, it came to mind with respect to the dog park, that in addition to the trash bins, and again, Glen Echo has the trash bins, which are much appreciated, but that you also have recycling bins right next to the trash bins. And we have been in discussion with DPW about getting recycling bins for the town. But I wanted also for you to be aware of that as a goal as well, so that people are always thinking of recycling at the same time they're thinking of trash. I think that's my list, but again, I think it's just, I would suggest awareness of, and it may be something you talk about with architects or landscape architects or engineers, again, to make sure that you do as much as you can to promote sustainability with respect to the plantings and also with respect to the design, so that these projects are resistant to flooding events or whatever other extreme weather events we may have. And I almost asked, but I let Mr. Coulter go with respect to the train station project, which is a very exciting project. What is the new HVAC system going to be for that project? Is it going to be a heat pump system or whatever? And probably the ship has sailed on that. But just one final comment with respect to the affordable housing or whatever other housing CPC might be involved in the future, would suggest that where it's possible, and I understand this, the new senior housing project is going to have very sustainable, sort of state-of-the-art, energy efficient building structure. But I understand that there is a new specialized code which is related to, but somewhat different from the stretch code. And if the town were to ever apply for a Green Communities Leadership certification, which is something that the Climate Action Plan might address, that they would be looking for future projects to be conform with the specialized building code. So that's just something else to bear in mind, to be talking about building code conformance when you're going over your projects. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Some very good thoughts in there. John?
I just want to say, in the spirit of what this meeting is all about, you and your committees would be welcome to present proposals for tree plantings where you think they would be useful and where we can legally do that, for garden development, pollinator gardens around town, more things along those lines. I must admit, I was thinking the same thing you said about the train station, and what I did notice in the work list that there is some insulation at least going in.
Oh, yes.
But, I was wondering about sustainable practices in that redevelopment. But, we do want to encourage, your committees bring a certain level of expertise to bear, and identifying places and things that we could do to help you achieve your goals.
Thank you very much for that, and I certainly will report back to both committees and, do some brainstorming of ways that we can sort of take the ideal and turn it into something specific and pragmatic that can help.
Application.
Great.
Yeah, I would certainly second what John's saying. As I said earlier, we meet typically the first Wednesday of the month. You're welcome to come, and we do accept typically public comments on projects, and get that thought process in from day one, like with the folks that were here.
I do have a quick question relative to that, maybe Barry can help, is how would we categorize those sort of proposals to make them comply with our mandate?
Well,
Open
just for
space?
example, tree planting could be considered, either an open space or recreation project, just as one example. But is that what you're asking?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I just want to say, Molly, we appreciate you coming here, and I think it opens up a new perspective, which maybe we hadn't considered fully. Something similar happened last year. We had Cynthia Walsh come and talk about the ADA and how we need to consider that in our proposals, and we've been trying to do that since then. And what I'm hoping going forward from this point